They never thought it would come this fast. They never thought the world's busiest airports would fall silent, gates sealed, control towers abandoned, and the sky itself turned hostile. But here we are, one breath away from a collapse they won't be able to restart. On July 22nd, Luz de Maria received the message that shook the foundation of global travel. The prophecy was clear, specific, and terrifying. Within 3 months, commercial air travel as we know it will be gutted, and certain airports, by name, will never open again. The countdown began that day. According to the message, major airports located along international trade routes and critical military corridors will become zones of silence, struck by sudden collapses in communication, followed by coordinated shutdowns. These aren't temporary closures. The message refers to smoke that shall rise from within, steel that will twist without warning, and the wings of man, frozen in the air by fire from below. The names came next, not as a list, but in a haunting pattern spoken by the Virgin. The Queen shall no longer land in Heathrow. The dragon shall not cross through Narita. The gates of Atlanta shall fall asleep, and the eagle shall not rise from O'Hare. That is not poetic flair. That is a map of judgment. London, Tokyo, Atlanta, Chicago, international centers that fuel the heartbeat of global commerce, diplomacy, and control. These hubs were built not just for transportation, but for domination. And now, the skies above them are being claimed, not by men, but by spirits of war. And even now, physical signs are already breaking through into the visible realm. Just weeks ago, Ukrainian drones pierced deep into Russian airspace, slamming into the Kazan and Belgorod airports in attacks that bypassed all their defenses. Civilian terminals were left cratered. Hundreds of flights across Eurasia were canceled overnight. And this isn't just an Eastern war zone story anymore. Western airlines have been quietly grounding fleets. In Germany, Lufthansa has suspended routes due to suspicious GPS interference over the Balkans. In America, flight cancellations surged throughout June due to unexplained software failures in air traffic control systems. Glitches that, insiders admit, defy explanation. These aren't coincidental technical issues. They're previews of judgment. The infrastructure of flight, which man has used to build his digital Tower of Babel, is now cracking. And the worst part is, no one's willing to say why, because if they told you the truth, that hostile powers are mapping out these shutdowns as part of a global reshuffle, that our adversaries are testing how fast we'll fall when air mobility is destroyed, you might start asking uncomfortable questions, like who's truly behind this, like what spiritual reality is being mirrored in these earthly tremors. The prophecy doesn't name countries, it names spirits, and the Virgin's message is brutal. The sky shall be locked to the unrighteous. The altars of commerce shall be cast down. Those who take flight to flee shall be caught in the net. This is not just about terrorism, war, or even sabotage. It's divine justice against an arrogant system built on speed, disobedience, and control. You think global air travel is a sign of progress. Scripture sees something different. In Genesis 11, they said, "Come, let us build a tower that reaches the heavens," and the Lord scattered them. Today, our towers aren't made of stone. They're radar masts and control hubs, reaching into the heavens with no thought of God. We move from continent to continent in hours, without ever asking whether we were meant to. But the Lord is now bringing it down. He warned us in Nahum 3 verses 16 to 17. "You have multiplied your merchants more than the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spoils and flies away. Your crowned are like the locusts. When the sun rises they flee away, and their place is not known." What happens when the airport gates don't open again? What happens when the skies grow silent, not because of peace, but because of devastation? Don't think this is only about aviation. When the planes stop, the economy bleeds. Most of the world's vital goods are flown, not shipped. Pharmaceuticals, electronics, time-sensitive medical shipments, even food, cut off in days when air lanes are severed. And these shutdowns won't be symmetric. Some countries will retain limited military airspace. Others will lose it entirely. There will be panic buying, factory halts, stock crashes, Insurance collapses. Do you know what happens to trade contracts when cargo doesn't land on schedule? Do you know what happens to developing nations that depend on air shipments for survival? They fall first. And from there, the chaos moves outward like wildfire. The prophecy did not speak of a global blackout. It spoke of selective judgment. Entire airports will be rendered desolate by design. Systems will shut off in a single hour, deliberately, surgically, and without public explanation. The controllers will lie. They'll say it's a cyber attack, or weather, or maintenance. But the message from heaven reveals something deeper. The hands that move the world's fleets shall tremble. They shall be divided, confused, and unable to speak one tongue. For the air above the earth shall no longer obey them. This is the reversal of Babel, the undoing of man's arrogant conquest of the firmament. And it will happen not with a bang, but a scatter. Flights will be delayed, then rerouted, then suspended indefinitely. Emergency declarations will follow, blaming hackers, blaming climate, blaming anything but sin. But the gates will stay closed. And when that happens, when Heathrow in Narita and Atlanta and O'Hare stop breathing, the false peace of the global order will dissolve. There will be no rescue flights, no evacuations, no United Nations humanitarian airlifts. Only silence, as the world realizes too late that the sky was never theirs to control. And don't think this is limited to commercial flights. The prophecy warns that military air corridors will be the next to collapse. The wings of war shall be broken. The iron birds will no longer answer their masters. That means the balance of power will shift. Rogue states will seize airspace. Drones will fall from the heavens. Satellite networks will fracture. And with every failed deployment, more nations will retreat into panic and secrecy, isolating their people in the name of safety. The Great Reset won't begin with a digital dollar. It'll begin with a grounded plane. By the end of September 2025, everything will look different. According to the prophecy, this 3-month period is not arbitrary. It culminates near the Feast of Trumpets, a time of spiritual awakening and reckoning in biblical tradition. The Lord said in Isaiah 2 verse 11, "The haughty looks of man shall be brought low, and the lofty pride of men shall be humbled, and the Lord alone will be exalted in that day." That day is approaching, and no pilot, no airline, no travel visa will outrun it. So what do we do now? You don't need fear to survive this. You need clarity. If you're planning trips in August or September, ask yourself, is it essential? Could it be disrupted? Prepare for sudden closures. Don't rely on ticket refunds or corporate reassurances. They're not in control anymore. Begin storing essentials now. Medicines, documents, communication tools that don't depend on infrastructure. If you live near a major airport named in the message, pray over your home. Anoint your doors. Because what comes next isn't a delay, it's a judgment. And to the faithful who understand these signs, now is not the time to chase comfort. This is the hour to stand in the breach and intercede. If you've ignored the messages of Luz de Maria until now, you no longer have that luxury. This is not symbolic. This is real. The countdown has begun. And when the air goes quiet, it will be too late to ask why. The trumpet has already sounded. You just weren't listening.